And
Right.
this is Check, and we are doing the information release number 9 in the podcast. It's called Challenge is Everything, and it is all about the Sacrament game, and we are covering their information releases to kind of maybe clarify some of the information that they have put out. They sometimes put out a lot of information, sometimes it's not altogether entirely
Gotta
clear.
say, it's a little one on top of another in the wrong spots.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to think of it this way: is that it's kind of at this point still a really grassroots effort, and so they're not as polished yet as some of the game developers that
But
we
it's
might be
still good
used to.
information.
But it's good information, and yeah, so we're here to break it down, help you make sense of some of it, and a little bit kind of give our opinions of what we think about it, because we do that. Check is
Pretty
salty
much.
by nature.
I'm salty. I got this.
So, all right. So, the first thing that we're going to be talking about is the information release about the Lazar. And as you can see up on the screen, we have the concept art for the Lazar, which looks pretty badass. Hello, Redworm. Oh,
Yeah, I just saw that too.
um,
Anyway, while she's doing that, the Lazar are another. It's a reptilian race that they introduced from the west for their lore. They have various city states, but their allegiance is to their clan before the city states is sort of their priority. Most of them are nomads. Trying to think what else is about them.
well, let's see. We'll go by our little bullet points here. They're
I say I can't
reptilian.
see them, so
You can't see the bullet points.
now Twitch is
You don't.
being stupid for me, so
You don't get to see the bullet points.
I don't need them.
Um, they were created by Korthel, the god of the wild. They primarily live in the west, but in a coastal area separated from the rest of the western regions by a large desert. They are divided between various city-states. The city-states claim allegiance of the desert tribes. The tribes are nomadic. The tribal movement, because of this, affects the balance of power in these city-states, so the city-states tend to pander to the tribes somewhat at the expense of the citizens. And I feel like this could, you know, this is similar to some of our government.
Yeah, I'll say it's
Yeah,
somewhat the same, but nah, don't point fingers. That'd be bad, and we
yeah,
don't
we don't
want
want
to
to
talk
point
about
fingers.
politics.
No
That's boring.
politics. But no, but no. Yeah, so the city-states pander to the tribes at the expense of the citizens. Um, Next up is religion, and you'll see that a lot of the races in the game have multiple names. So the
Yes.
Lizar is also known as the Asharm, which is, I don't know if you can see my pointer. I have no idea if you can see my pointer, but I am pointing to the name Asharm, and it looks like a Sarm, but the S has a little character, a little squiggly thing above it. So that is their other name, the Asharm, and all Asharm priests descend from the first priest appointed by Korthel. Korthel again is the god of the wild. All the priests are male, and we're gonna talk a little bit about their customs.
That's just so funny.
So all the priests are male. Um, the worship of Korthel involves blood sacrifice of various non-sentient animals as a way of honoring him. Uh, and we'll get a little bit more into their culture in the next slide. But we'll talk briefly about the weapons and military, and in a lot of ways, we have some questions about
Yeah.
what this means. So they have two. They list two specific um, weapons, and we aren't quite sure whether or not this means that only the Lizar will be able to
Yeah.
use these particular weapons. We're not 100% sure of that, so we're waiting for some clarification on that, and hopefully it'll come soon, and we'll be able to let you know.
Yeah.
So one of these is the, and again, pronunciation, we're not sure, the
Nope. Nope.
Nimchi?
Nimcha.
Nimcha?
Words.
Words, it's hard. So yeah, Nimchi, Nimcha, which is a single-edged curved sword. Isn't that like I'm thinking
It
like
it
scimitar or something.
yeah, their
Scimitar?
definition of it sounds exactly like a scimitar to me. So
Right.
we'll see once we get concept art for it, but like their entire definition, especially on where they hail from, just screams scimitar to me. So
Yes, exactly. And also the other weapons listed is lever action rifle.
yeah,
And so again, we're not sure whether or not these will be available to play in the game, and if they are, if you will have to be a
they're race
Lazar.
specific, or
Right.
if anything, I feel like the nimchi. I'm going to call it a scimitar. It's probably not. I can't say nimchi or
Nimchi.
whatever.
Nimchi. We'll just
It's
call her
a
Nimchi.
it's listed as a racial weapon because of how their combat is on their horses. The lever action rifle is just listed as something they discovered how to make, so maybe that's different, but who knows?
Right. At this point, we're not 100% sure, but we'll ask and we'll convey that
Hopefully get an answer.
information. Hopefully, we'll get answers. I would
Yeah.
like to think so. All right. So our next piece of information here is about the culture. And as I was typing this up today, I was like, wow, I
It's amazing.
already don't like their culture. Just gonna put that out there,
Awesome.
and that's okay because I don't think I have to. I
There's
don't think you
plenty
have
of
to.
races, so you'll be fine.
There's plenty of races for me to like, but so far I'm not really digging the culture of the Lazar. I'm just saying they're
I
male
think it's funny
dominated.
because they're completely okay with it.
Well, that's the thing too. I actually like that, like, um, and as you
Sacrament's
were
willing
reading
to
this,
go there.
yeah, yeah, this is clearly not like a PC, kind of politically correct. This is very politically incorrect, but that's who these people are. And just like in life, you're not always proud of everything
Well,
in
and
your
in
culture.
life, everyone's different, so
Yeah, that's true.
it's nice having complete differences. So anyway, continue.
Right. So they are male dominated. Nudity is a male privilege, and apparently guys can just strip down naked,
Stripped down naked. Yep.
and it's their privilege. Women can't do it. Um,
And it's deemed
Females,
okay as well. It's like
it's
completely normal to see naked lizard people walking around.
not a big deal. Not a big
Yeah.
deal. Male lizard naked people.
Yeah, male.
The clothes that the males wear are for protection only, not fashion. You know, so do that.
They
Do
don't
with
look
that
like
as you
that.
may.
No.
Just for protection, not for fashion. They are polygamous, so many wives. Many wives. The wives are kept hidden away. The females
I'm
are
just gonna be quiet the whole time. So
the females wear head to toe robes, and we could draw some parallels and cultures. We won't do that, but we could do that, I guess, if we wanted to. We don't want to.
I don't want
Um,
to.
I don't want to either, but yeah. So female wear head to toe robes. However, and this one really got me. The unmarried daughters are encouraged to wear skimpy clothes and dance seductively for dinner guests. I
They
guess I
gotta
would.
get husbands
They
somehow.
gotta
They
get a
gotta get that.
husband. They gotta get a husband somehow. I don't know what to say
Uh,
about that, but that's okay. So,
I think it's
however,
amazing.
yeah,
Like 10 out of 10.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's different. That's for sure.
It
So
is.
they're not afraid to go there. They went there. We're here. This is where we are. However, some Asharm cities have abandoned these traditional customs, opting instead for a more equality-based society, which is good. So the Lazar maybe it's like maybe getting out of those
They'll get there someday.
clearly sexist ways, but yeah. Let's see. Most Asharm live nomadic lives, dwelling in what they call simple pavilions on wheels with canvas walls for privacy. So they're on the move. They're going.
Yeah.
They're in
They're nomads, like
they're
word for word. They're just nomads. They
they're
live
nomads.
in desert areas anyway, so you get that image in your head. So
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So apparently, feuds are a big thing among them. The allegiance to one's clan trumps allegiance. Um, totally spelled allegiance two different ways as I'm looking at that.
I'm reading that now. It's pretty
I need a
nice.
yeah, I need a spell checker
Proofreader.
myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
proofreader. Mayor, where's Mayor? All right. Um, so yeah, allegiance to one's clan trumps allegiance to a city-state. So whoever they declare their allegiance to, if they're called upon to fight for their clan, that comes first. And there are often feuds between the clans. And on top of that, there's also feuds between the races. So the the Asharm are
Yeah.
at odds with the Avians, also known as. There's no pronunciation guide on this one, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it's the Atbeer.
I say this one's pretty, so I'm going like at Burr, at Beer.
Atbeer. Okay, so we'll just call them the Avians because that's easier
The
for me.
birds.
The
The bird
birds.
people.
They're at odds with the bird people. And that's since the early second era. And I don't know what era we're in.
No. We
Where is
have
he?
no clue of like a real timeline
Not yet.
other than it's all history.
Right. So we don't know. Are we in the third era? Are we in the fourth era? Are we in the fifth era? I mean, who knows? We don't know. But all of this happened in the second era. Okay. The Atber claim that the Asharm used to sacrifice their young, even though the Asharms claim they have never sacrificed sentient creatures. The Asharm claim the origin of the feud was the assassination of several Asharm priests by the Atber. Atber.
At Beer. The bird
Atber.
people.
The bird people. The
The bird
avians.
people.
And of course, the avians claim that the assassination was in response to the sacrifice of their young. So we have like a nice circular argument going on
Mhm.
here, you know,
It's lasted for a long ass time.
and it's lasted for a long time. So, yeah. So they were at war in the middle of the Second Age, which led to the expulsion of the avians from the lands of the West. Now, where they landed, I don't really know yet. When we find out, we'll tell you.
Yeah.
Right now, we're not exactly sure. So I guess when we cover the Atmer,
Lore.
you know
It's all
that
behind. It's all in
it,
lore.
I'm not gonna lie to you. The lore is very complicated. It is very complicated, and that will make a lot of people very happy because there's some people
Mhm.
who really need to have like a depth
Well,
to
even
the
the
lore.
people like myself, I'm far from a lore lover, but having a story that makes sense and depth to it, because you don't
Yeah.
always care about the lore, but at some points you stop and go, why am I doing
Why
this
am I
again? And they
doing
have a
this?
reason for it to happen, so that's
Yeah.
always good.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There have been a couple games that I was playing and I'm like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
Why am I
Why am I
fighting these
here?
people?
Why do I care?
Yeah, exactly. What's my purpose? You know, anyways. So yeah, it is nice that there's lore that makes sense and that there are people who are putting this together and there will be a greater story, you know. So that said, the fact that we're covering it, lore is hard.
Lore is
It's
hard.
complicated.
Yes.
It's complicated,
There's
and
lots of it.
there's lots of it, and it's kind of hard to, you know,
We
it's
also
hard
don't
to
know
like
where they're
condense
coming
it.
from, so we can't make the connections either.
Yeah,
So
that's true. But
that's all. That's another big issue.
however, um, we are going to be having the lore master, Dr. Lore, as he's
Doctor
known.
Lore, yeah.
We're going to have Dr. Lore on one of the shows, and he's going to give us a breakdown of some of the more complicated lore things that we don't really understand. So
That should help a lot.
that should help a lot. All right, so let me get to the last one. All right, their appearance and anatomy, and I'm not gonna lie, part of the description of their anatomy, I decided to omit it
It's,
just because
you
I don't think we really need
go to
to
the
talk about
website,
it.
read it.
Yeah, there's.
Just read it. Go to the website. I'll even link it in
I just
chat for you.
I appreciate the depth. I really do. I appreciate like that it's very in depth and so much so that
Maybe
we're
dim the lights a little bit. No,
but you light a candle, I don't, whatever.
yeah. Here
No, but
you go.
it's very very in depth about the the anatomy of the Lazar. So now we know
Yeah.
some things we probably didn't ever think
Didn't
we
need
needed
to
to
know.
know. Yeah.
Because guess what? When you're in game, that shit's gonna be covered in gear anyway. So
Well, hopefully, unless the males are walking around naked. So maybe they
you,
will be. I don't know. Maybe that's why they're letting us know.
if you let
'Cause
me walk around with dual shields naked,
you
I'm
have to
in.
be a lizard.
Nah,
You have to be a
I
lizard.
don't know if a lizard. Yeah.
All
Continue.
right. So again, they're a reptilian race. They don't have hair. They have crests or horns instead. And instead of, don't think like dry, rough, scaly scales. Think smooth, seamless scales. So they're like,
Snakes is what it sounds
yeah,
like to me.
kind of like
Instead of
snake.
lizards, they're more like snake skin.
Yeah.
Is the idea I'm getting.
Yeah. Yep, and we can look again at that little picture of the Lazar. We'll throw that up there for a second. All right, yeah, yeah, I'm seeing that. Love Serena's art. It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, so smooth, seamless scales. They have very, very sharp teeth. Hi, Katie. They're slow to anger, but they're intense. Their anger is intense once they're provoked. Right? Something
They hold
about
grudges too. I
they
say we
hold
didn't mention
grudges.
that. That's why they have clan wars so bad because if they remember everything, even if it's not related
They
to what's
hold a
happening.
grudge, that's for sure. Um, they are mostly nocturnal. They spend, it sounds like from the description, most of their days basking in the sun. I guess the males do.
And
I don't
nudity.
know.
Yeah, the males get to do it. The female, no,
Yeah, the females are
no
hidden back in
sunbathing for you.
the kitchen or something. I don't know where. They're hidden away from sight wearing
Someone's got to make the sandwiches.
burlap bags.
The burlap bags. uh,
They're cold-blooded, so that would mean that they would need an external heat source to keep them warm.
hence why they like to get naked in the sun.
They like to bask in the sun, and I guess the ladies are just kind of screwed. They just get to be cold.
It could be cold. Yeah, there you
Just to
go.
be cold. That's just too bad for you, ladies. They're claustrophobic.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, they don't like small
I,
spaces.
you know,
I wonder how that is going to play out. Like if that's just,
I wonder if it's
information that's
actually get negative
in the
effects in
concepts.
game.
That would be kind of cool, actually.
That would
You
be
know?
really annoying.
It would be annoying,
Actually,
probably.
that'd be really
in
annoying.
like, yeah, it probably would be annoying.
Depending on
You're
like the
stuck in
severity of it or something. I don't know.
it.
They could do a
Probably
lot
would
with
have.
that, but it also could be really awfully and
Yeah, yeah.
it
It's
wouldn't be fun.
interesting. It's interesting.
It is.
It's good to know that they're thinking of these races as like not just a playable race, but like a real race.
They're making
and
it a living being. Like
Yeah.
that's why it's given it so much story to it. So you feel like
Yeah.
you're playing something more than a video game.
Yeah. Males are about 5.5 feet tall. Females are slightly smaller. Males, I guess, can be a little bit taller than 5.5 feet. Um, Now this is bordering on the
This is like the start of the odd stuff.
the odds. Right. Females feed their young with the equivalent of human mammary glands, but no milk. It's venom, which
Hmm.
is weird. It's weird, but apparently it like affords the young, you know, I can't remember what they said.
I'm trying to
It's like
find it. Oh, it helps their immune system
immune
because when they're
systems,
born,
right?
they don't really have any.
Yes,
And via doing that, they get, by the time they're fully grown, they're almost impervious to diseases, which also hints at possible racial traits.
right, right, right. And considering that, we'll talk about that more in the next slide, but the DPS
Hmm.
thing, one of the damage types is poison and disease, or two of the damage
Disease.
types are
Yep.
poison and disease. So that could end up being, kind of
Yeah.
like alluding to some
PvP bonuses.
racial traits, and PvE.
I say, and it's not. They're also see better and light than humans, but it doesn't say they're fantastic at it. So
Right.
we don't know where that leads it.
Right. And if you should decide to play a Lazar, your available classes are Berserker, Defender, Doom Knight, Druid, Paladin, Ranger, Shaman, Strategist, Warrior, Witch Doctor, or Zealot. Like, the only thing is that's only clerics. So, like, not too many
That's-
things left out of that list.
Well,
But
well, the list
clerics
is
are
big,
clearly-
but you still have to remember back in they have like 28 playable classes, so it's actually still skipping
I
out
guess
a
that's
lot, but
true.
it has a good variety.
Yeah, no, it definitely has a good variety. You're not.
You
you're
can
not
play
gonna be,
pretty much every role. Actually, yeah, with
Yeah.
that you can play every role in the game. So
So there we have that. All right. So next, we'll take off the Lazar information here. I guess since we're already talking lore, I guess we'll go right into Odros,
the god of law.
the god of law. And yet again, more awesome concept art. I don't know who did this one though.
This
but
one, I believe, is Rosalind.
Rosalind.
It's Rosalind Summers. I forget
Summers.
if it is. I think it's. I don't know how to say it. It's an SO.
I think it's Summers.
Okay.
I think so.
Either one. Sorry for butchering her name. She also does
Yes.
fantastic art.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. So Odros, the god of law, before laws of man, there were the laws of the gods, right? So we're talking the early history of the world itself. Odros, the god of law, struck fear into the hearts of subjects and contemporaries alike. So it's implying that was feared by the other gods. That's what it sounds like to me.
I'd say
So
it's well. There's more depth on it. Like he enforces following the rules slash laws on literally everything. Like he doesn't care who or what you are.
you're
You,
following the rules.
he's there to make sure it happens. If not, he's gonna find you. So
And also, there is no moral ambiguity. There's no gray areas. There's no like, oh,
yeah,
well, that was almost, it was, a little
it's
wrong.
right
No,
or wrong.
it's right or wrong
Yes
with
or no.
him, with him. So things are very black and white to Odros, and his retribution is swift. So if you make him mad, it won't be long until you figure
Let's
out
say
what your
he'll find
punishment's
you.
going to be. Yeah.
He'll find you.
So Estramir, which I think I'm pronouncing right,
I don't.
but
I'm
maybe
kind
not.
of.
That's the name of the world. Was
Yes.
rife with criminals. And the races disregarded each other's laws, which we know can lead to bad
Yeah.
things.
This
Death and
sounds
bad
like
people.
real life. Okay.
Well, that's good though. That's good though.
Yeah.
It should
Gives
sound
you
like real life
something to relate to.
because
Oh
lore
my.
that has depth,
Yeah.
does
Has
relate
purpose.
to us. Yeah. So he cared little for the people, mostly concerned with orderliness. So he's not enforcing the laws to make sure that the people are comfortable and happy. He is enforcing the laws he
That's what he
wants
does.
because he wants the world to be orderly, and without laws, you can't have order. So he enforces them. I like to think of him as kind of like an OCD kind of character. You know what I mean? Like he needs
Yeah,
everything
possibly.
ordered in
Everything needs to
rows,
be
and
neat and perfect and
everything
the
needs
way
to be
it's
neat and
supposed to be.
perfect. And people breaking laws just like totally screws up the whole scheme for him. So
Yeah.
that's how I look at Odros.
Yeah.
OCD.
Sounds pretty much right. Probably not, but
Probably
we'll
not.
see. It's,
So let's see. Loyal followers of Odros act as his judicial squad.
yes. Odros is actually one of the gods you'll follow in the game as well. He's the
That's right.
third one they released. So like you'll pledge allegiance to Odros and become part of his group. So
And what exactly that will mean,
no clue.
um, I don't know. We don't know yet. But
All we know is
worship
like
is
related.
power. That's
Yeah.
the big thing,
Or I
across
say
the
worship
website.
is
So
power, and for the terms I look at as the god you pledge your allegiance to, the one you follow, is who you fight for in PvP. So you'll be doing your ordeals and like you'll be trying to convert other people. So
right,
past
right.
that, I have no clue. But stuff, lore,
Lord, that's right.
lore.
Lore's hard. So
I
as we can see here, he appears as a hooded figure, as shown in this wonderful concept art. Few glimpse his ever-changing face. His true face is only shown during the sentencing of those brought directly before him in court, and it drives men mad. So
I really want to see what his face looks like.
I know that
after
makes me
reading
want to
that.
know what
I
it
was like,
is.
I want to see it.
Totally. However, those who attract personal attention of Odros should wish for a swift death, as his punishments are often worse than death. Which makes me want to know what his other punishments
He
are.
sounds like a nice guy.
Is he like a bamboo shoot underneath the fingernails type fella? I don't know.
I don't know, like that dripping water thing. I don't know. There's so many
Yeah,
different.
the
Interesting.
waterboarding. Is he?
Yeah.
Is he like mean to your family? I'm curious now.
Does
I need
he
to
write
know.
horrible things on your Twitter feed?
That's right. That's right. Does he troll your Reddit? That's the
Oh
question.
gosh.
So this is Odros, god of law. So one of the many gods that you can
Yeah.
choose to worship, and that will affect your gameplay, and in ways that we can't explain because we don't know yet,
No
but
clue.
we will as it goes along. So let's see here. We'll move on to the last stuff. Last thing.
Last stuff.
The
Yeah.
last stuff. Yeah, it's good English there. The last thing that we're going to be covering is the DPS concepts. So, and this is one of the things that was a little bit not clear, I think, on the website. When I was trying to put this
Yeah.
together, I was kind of like, you know,
It makes
um,
it look like it's something entirely different than what it
right,
actually is.
right. So in his description of the DPS concept, he's saying that DPS will not be the easy job in Sacrament, and then in a lot of games, DPS was what you did if you didn't want to take on the responsibilities of a tank or a healer. It was
Yep.
kind of the like coastin',
It
you
was
know.
like I don't want to have to like be responsible for this. They might blame me, so I'll just be one of the like 5,000 DPS there is in this game
Right,
because there's
right,
a lot of you.
right. However, that's not going to be the way it is in Sacrament. You're going to be held responsible for accomplishing what you're supposed to
You're
accomplish,
gonna have
and
jobs.
you're going to have to do it well.
Yeah.
And you're going to need to not stand in fire.
You're gonna, yeah. To sum it all up, red is bad. It will kill you.
Red is bad. It'll kill you. Pew pew like a boss. It's
Yeah.
your job.
Yeah. And you're gonna be held accountable now is the big thing. Like it's
Yeah.
normally not just you go in DPS. Like they're gonna give you mechanics that you have to do as a DPS, and if you fuck it up, everyone dies. Like it's not just gonna be the tanks and healers having to deal with that kind of stuff now, which will be fun.
Which is
They'll give you
interesting.
something else to do.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna make a lot of hate, but meh.
Meh. Hey, you know what? I've been a healer. We've got
I
responsibilities that ain't that
I'm a
hard.
tank,
Just do
so
your
I don't
job.
care.
Do it well.
It's always the
Um,
main tank's fault.
all
So
right, so we're coming up to one of the kind of like not really clear parts here, and
yeah,
he in the paragraph he describes the five fields of DPS, and he kind of makes it sound like each one of these is a different type of DPS. We've got melee DPS, range DPS, physical DPS, elemental DPS, and divine DPS. And that was a little confusing
actually,
to me
yeah.
because really, you've got the three types of DPS, which are melee DPS, range DPS, and pet DPS, but that's covered elsewhere. That's not covered
That'll
in
be
this
in the
really.
future because they're making pet mechanics massive in this game is their goal.
Right,
So
right. So pet DPS is its own thing, but it is one of the three types of DPS. Of those types, there's
yeah,
different types of damage, and I think that was kind of the a little bit of
there
the
just wasn't
misunderstanding here.
any divider between them, so it all sort
Right.
of ran together is the problem.
So you've got your melee, your ranged, and also your pet DPS, which is not covered. And then you have the types of damage, and then there's physical DPS, elemental DPS. So physical damage, elemental damage, and divine damage.
Hmm.
And we'll let's go to the next one here. I think I go into that a little bit more. So melee DPS, the big thing for you guys is going to be avoidance,
Yeah,
right? And
I say the same thing as it always been, but a little bit more in depth.
right, right. And we all know that the encounter designers love to make things hard for melee. It really is hard for melee. But as you'll see in the range DPS section, it's not just you guys. It's going to be hard for range too. They're going to have to do a lot of moving. There's no like stand and shoot for a long time. So
Hmm.
be moving around.
No turreting.
And there's some turreting. It's nice. It's a nice.
Hey, it's a phrase I picked up a long time ago. I don't know.
All right. So splash mitigation from some of the tanks. I don't really understand this, so
I
I'm
don't
gonna ask
understand what
you.
that means.
So I'm
I say
wondering if maybe like because there's the mitigation tanks, like maybe they're like
yeah.
projecting
Well,
damage on nearby
and
players, like spreading it out
if
among
you also
players.
read like the descriptions of like the defenders and the paladins, it says they'll be able to encompass surrounding people with bonuses and such. So I'm assuming that's what that relates to, but
Yeah, splash
I don't know.
mitigation. That's like a term I honestly can't.
Yeah. I,
I can't really define that. I can
I'm
only
assuming
guess.
it's related to like because they have classes set up just to defend the people around them, like the defender and the paladin again. So I'm going on a limb, and I'll probably be wrong, but I'm assuming that's what it relates to. It also gives those kinds of classes a purpose in life. They're to
Yeah,
keep the melee DPS alive from the fire on the ground, stuff like
yeah.
that. So
So they will have unique abilities to bolster their own defenses, which is good. Again, giving them some responsibility for keeping themselves alive instead of just
it's not all the healer's job.
yelling at us healers. Oh, what are you doing? You stood in the fire. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um, so strong use of positioning. That's pretty standard melee fare, though. Really, you got to
yeah.
be in the right spot.
Played
Otherwise,
an
you're
MMO, you've dealt with it.
yeah, yeah. As a melee, you got to be in the right spot. Now, here's another one that I don't really understand. Hopefully, you do. Bosses don't do Was it PBAOE? Is that
It's
player
P
base?
yeah, it's player based AoE. PBOE in the easiest term is you have a boss there, he does shit around him in a circle.
Right.
Like it's always centered around him and it does damage to the area around him. They're not going to do that. Instead, they're going to make it so the PBOE exists, but it's being put on players, and the
On
players have to
players.
deal with it.
Hmm.
So that'll
That's
be, it
interesting.
also allows range to have to deal with it
Yeah.
because it might get put on a range DPS, so it won't be in melee range, stuff like that.
I'm, you know,
It'll
I'm a
it'll
little.
be nice.
Not that that's not a great idea, but I am a little concerned that it's like they never do that. They never put the the player base AOE on themselves.
Th- This game's well,
Well, I mean,
it's
I'm
not
just
that they,
saying for like variety purposes. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
don't know. Anyways, so um, melee DPS required to move around a lot. Standstill damage is high. So
like
because
crazy
of all
high.
the move, yeah, because of all the movement, when they do get to stand still for a moment and do DPS, it's going to be retardedly
Yeah,
high.
it's going to be massive amounts of damage. Like melee DPS will always outshine range on like a target dummy, but you're not going to have fights like that, so it's going to end up evening out. But when melee hits, they hit hard is their goal behind it because they're always out of range.
Yes. And there was also something about the melee will need to consider weapon types. So they've got different weapons to choose from, as opposed.
That's,
I mean, I'm guessing as opposed to the range DPS.
yeah,
They kind
well,
of
this
have their
goes back to I don't remember if it was the first or second one we did where we talked about the armor types and then the weapon classes I brought up where like dagger wouldn't be able to do anything against like plate armor, but it'd be really
right.
strong against cloth and so on and so forth. Like the kind of weapon they have is going to decide the kind of damage they do, whether it be slashing, piercing, bludgeoning, or
Right.
I don't know if they call it bludgeoning or bashing. And so that will give them ways to do different things on bosses because they can't change elements of their attacks.
So our raid group rolls up to a boss, and he's a guy in like heavy plate armor, and so as a melee
Hmm.
character, I got to put my dagger away, right?
That might not be true though, because and when they also talk about weapons, they don't want people weapon switching. They want you to take a raid of melees having different kinds of attacks.
Okay.
So when you're doing that, it's going to be hard for them. Like you're not going to. They don't want you just to weapon switch and deal with the problem, but at the same hand, you're going to be able to have to make your raid team spread out enough that you can do every job, unless you want to try focusing on one thing and then try to make up for it at a later time. Is the all-around goal
Well, that's
that
interesting.
I'm
Hopefully, if hopefully if you're in that raid and you come across a boss and suddenly you're just not doing a lot of damage to the boss, hopefully you have something else to do. Hopefully you're not just stuck there looking silly,
yeah.
stabbing something with
Well,
a dagger that doesn't take
I'm
damage.
assuming you'll still do damage. It'll just be a lot weaker.
Yeah, yeah. But hopefully, in those circumstances, there'll be something else that you can add, and you're not just like dead weight. Or at least, hopefully, the raid encounters only have like one of each of those bosses, so you're not like the whole
Yeah.
raid
Oh
encounter, and
well,
you never get
time to
invited.
re-roll. No, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get invited because everything, all the bosses have plate armor in this raid. Hopefully, that's not the case. That would
I'm
that would suck, I guess.
at the end of the day, we also got to remember it's people that play video games that's making this game. So I'm assuming they'll not make that problem. And based on every person I've talked to from Sacrament and everything, they understand what they're getting into. They're just giving themselves a lot of work, but they're okay with that. So
All right, so Grassifer says, pretty sure PB stands for point blank AoE,
yeah,
not player base AoE. And you could be right, Grassifer. Grassifer's
I,
really smart, so you
he
could be
is
right. Maybe he's right. I don't know. We'll have to
at
ask.
this. I say it might be, but same hand, it's the rule of where it's going to be like not around them. Like the concept still follows. It's
Yeah,
just different wording.
yeah.
But yeah,
But thanks, Grassifer, for making
yes,
us look
thank you.
dumb. Thank you very much. All right, so okay, so on to range DPS. Range DPS will also be required to move. Again, no turreting, no standing still and just
Yeah.
you know
Well, that's also the beauty of this
spraying
game.
bullets.
There's no cast times.
That's right. That's right. At least
So
at this point, and
yeah,
the
as of
feedback we've
right
gotten,
now, no cast times.
no
It's all
cast
cooldown
times.
based.
Yeah. So your range DPS are also going to be required to move around. They're going to have to avoid damage, and the
You're gonna
healers,
have to do mechanics. It's a
yes,
horrible thing.
but then the healers will let you know if you're not. I will
Yeah.
have no problem telling you when you're standing in the fire. I never do, but yeah. So, and then this one will never match their DPS counterparts. And then there were some examples of that. Let's see. They compared.
Oh,
Yeah,
like the wizard versus assassin. Holy
assassin.
shit.
Yeah,
Sniper versus strategist. Like
right.
matched up wise, the DPS is gonna depend on the kind of damage they're doing. Excuse me, the damage they're doing. So you're not gonna be able to walk in and just like, oh, this boss is entirely made out of ice. I'm gonna throw an ice bolt at it. Like you'll do no damage to him.
Right. Right.
Whereas someone with a guns is gonna be putting holes in him.
So there you go.
They'll be. I say past that, they're adding class identity.
Right.
Is I think the whole goal behind it.
And then, of course, the ranged DPS will be required to understand their elemental types or risk doing no damage at all. And that goes back to, what Jeff
Yeah,
was just saying. You just an ice
giant
boss.
guy made
You're
of
not
ice.
going to
Let's
throw
throw an
ice
ice.
at him. Yeah, you're not going to throw ice cubes at him.
They're not gonna do anything
It's
to
not
them.
going to do anything. All right.
It's a, now based on as you said before, like weapon switching for melee. I know of at least one class that'll be able to just flat out switch his elements so he can do damage to all targets, but I'm assuming since he can switch elements, there's going to be lesser damage to all targets. Well, I'm assuming there's going to be some way for classes to still do their job in a raid and not be completely useless. Because if they do,
Yeah.
that's just going to cause problems.
Right. We don't know exactly how that is yet, but hopefully we'll know soon. So the types of melee and range damage, and this is where we're clarifying a little bit. The types of damage, the physical damage consists of poison and disease, right?
Yes.
And I would imagine just melee
I'd
damage.
say, and
Like the damage of your sword against, a
yeah,
guy's neck.
say physical, possibly rangers, like those kinds of things. Maybe assassins, because no, assassins melee it doesn't matter. But like rangers might do it. I don't know, because
Yeah, I
if
was
they're
wondering about
shooting
that too.
arrows at you, they would have to give
Arrows?
some affinity to it. So
Yeah, I would guess. So arcane elements got fire, cold, lightning, earth, wind, water. You
possibly
know,
a little bit of love.
love, love,
Captain
love,
Planet.
love damage.
No, it's Captain Planet. Never
Captain
mind.
Planet. That's lost on me. You should know that.
No one gets it. I give up.
No,
It's
no.
Captain Planet.
But he did make the joke, so. And then there's divine elements, which is holy, death, and curse. And as a potential cleric, so far, it's looking like,
You'll
that's
be
what I'm going
doing
to play.
divine.
Holy damage. But I hope that, like maybe some death or curse damage in there, or, I don't know. I mean, am I going
And
to. I
are
was under
you
the
gonna
impression that
be
clerics
a
don't really
horrible?
get to do a whole lot of damage anyways. Am I
Yeah.
going to be what?
I said you're gonna be a horrible dark cleric. And
A
run around
horrible
all
dark-
black.
A dark
Instead of
cleric.
healing people,
A
you walk up
shadow
and
cleric.
make sure they die. Like
Nice.
no unholy.
A
Well,
shadow
that's
cleric.
essentially death, just different wording.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand by your kappa that's what you meant, but I still answered it. Will say I'm interested. There's no bleed damage listed as physical.
I wonder if that's an oversight, or if it's just
Or if
there's
it's
not
just
going
not
to
going to
be
exist.
not going to exist.
I don't know. That's one
That's
thing
kind
that
of a
really.
staple. That's kind of a staple of
Yeah.
the.
Well, and if I'm cutting you with stuff, you're going to be bleeding. Like, you can't just, oh no, he
Yeah,
doesn't
and you
bleed.
would,
There's gaping holes in him.
and technically you would continue to take damage from a
Hmm.
wound that was bleeding.
So it's either an oversight, it's not going to happen, I don't know. But I'm interested that there's not
Yeah.
listed as something on it.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Because every game has bleed. Like you said, it's a staple. Everyone has it because it's how it happens. How does ice bleed?
How does ice bleed? Yeah,
Let me go get a big icicle and we'll find out.
It bleeds water. I don't know.
It bleeds water.
So, this is pretty much Oh, we
as
already,
I
yep,
thought.
that's pretty much, this is about it for the information that they've released in information release number 9. So we'll real quick ask if anybody has any questions about anything that we've covered. Maybe we can illuminate. Probably not, but maybe.
Probably not. We can try.
We
That's
can
all that
try.
matters.
Yeah.
And fail horribly.
So we're trying to like, kind of take this information and make sense of it, but, you know.
I say, and also in somewhat related news, as we're waiting for questions, go check out sacramentgame.com. I'll throw it in chat a couple times. Feel free to look around, see if you like it. If you're even interested in anything, want to share your opinions, go to the forums and talk about it.
Yeah.
Not the devs. Well, yeah, the devs, the founders, like they're the ones that are answering it. They'll be there. They'll respond to it. You get responses damn near within like 12 hours, if not a day, for sure. There's always someone around. And if you have any skills pertaining, to art concept, content development, anything like that,
Yes.
they have a donate button up top. It's not for money. It's donate time. They have a
To donate
volunteer
time.
forum. Like, if you want to get in, like, the game, you like the game, you want to try this, you're interested in those kinds of things in life, do it. Like,
Yeah.
they're giving you the option to quote Shia LaBeouf, just do it. Like, it's there.
You're quoting Shia LaBeouf?
Quoting
What?
Shia LaBeouf.
What?
Should I get up and flex for it, too?
No, don't do that. No, but honestly, if you've ever been interested in being a part of the game development process, or if that's the kind of thing that you're looking to do, as a career later on, you could definitely put this sort of thing on your
Yeah.
resume, you know? So, and I think right now, as awesome as Slayer Serena is, she's busy. Like, this
They,
is a lot of
they
work.
need artists.
They need artists, and,
Artists.
yeah, yeah.
And to
So
answer
you,
Rohan's question, there is a vampire-like class. It's a blood mage. So
Blood
you'll have that.
Mage. But yeah.
That's it. It's going to transfer blood and life force. I don't know how much more of a vampire you could get. So
Yeah, and I actually saw some of the skills involved
yeah,
with that, and some of it looks really cool. It actually
yeah,
does
no,
look
it's
really
sweet.
neat. All right, well that's going to be it for this information release number 9. This is Challenges Everything podcast number 2. This is every other week. The information releases come every other week, and just as like right before we started the show, it was pointed out to us that they actually released some information on the skills
Oh yeah,
that they've already of the classes that have already been released in previous information releases. So we weren't prepared at
no.
all to show you that this week. So we'll have to like roll it into
We'll have
next week's
something
show.
on it. Or
Yeah.
if you want more in depth, just go to the website and you go to the class like breakdown where all the class listings are. The classes that she said have the information already out. Just scroll to the bottom and it has some of the class skills listed, and you can at least get more identity and like idea behind what it's actually going to do. So
Yeah. Yeah, and in all honesty, like some of the descriptions that were given about some of the classes were kind of, I don't know, not generic, but just kind of like lacking in any detail. But once you
it
start
didn't.
seeing
It,
what the
yeah.
skills are and what the classes can really do, then it starts to kind of fall together, and you're like, wait, this does sound like something I want to play. So
Because names and lore are good and all, but you want to know how you're going to pew pew. So
exactly. Like, how does the game work? What do what do the classes do? So.
mhm.
So yeah. So take a look at those, and next week we'll try to catch up on those, and hopefully whatever new ones they've
Yeah, snuck in.
introduced by then. Yeah, snuck in. Yeah, and that was really kind of a sneaky thing.
Yeah,
'Cause,
I found it on accident. So
yeah, and we were like, whoa, we're not ready for this. But anyways, thanks for watching, and tune in 2 weeks from tonight, and we will be handling the next information release number 10. And thanks for watching. I'm Izzy. This is Chick. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
have a good one, guys.